What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Inside Zone. Football is in the air. We're back, baby. We are back. This is probably the best time of year, period. I think as a football fan, as a sports fan, just as a guy that is tired of doing yard work on Saturday mornings as my main joy on the weekends, this is awesome. Look, we had our first set of games last week. Georgia Tech upsetting Florida State. This week we kicked off with a good slate of games, like 20-something games yesterday. Colorado, North Dakota was the highlight, and it was a good game. Good game. I think Colorado's defense is going to have to show up a little bit more if they want to make any noise this year. But I think the pundits have them slated to go, win like 7 or 8 games this year. And then being sarcastic here, knowing that Deion Sanders is going to the NFL next year, to coach the Cowboys, it's going to be interesting. So yeah, I said it. Deion is following his son to the Cowboys as the head coach. You heard it here first. I guarantee it happens. But enough of that, though. Yeah, we have a 12-team playoff this year, which is going to be interesting. We have the conferences realigned. You have the ACC trying to implode. You have the Big 12 that's already imploded. You have the Big 10 and the SEC as the two power conferences. You have some great teams coming up in the FCS side of things that are really making noise, whether it's Appalachian State, Georgia State, Georgia Southern. Yeah, I'm a Southern guy, so I know a lot of the Southern schools, but a lot of good teams around the country that are really building up in that UCF, Coastal Carolina type of mold, that are just itching to move up into the FBS side of things. You have Notre Dame with no home. I thought it was interesting to hear that Notre Dame, the highest that they could get into the 12-team playoff is the 5th seed because they don't have a conference to call home. It's an interesting setup right now, and it's the first. It's new, and I think it's great. It's great for college football. It's great for those who like to gamble. It's great for coaches. It's great for the players. It's great for fans. It's going to be even better for TV stations, ESPN, Fox, CBS. It's a win-win all the way around, blowing this thing up and growing into what it's growing into, whether it's NIL, transfer portal, or what. So I wanted to make a quick video just to give my input, talk about what I think the season is going to turn out to be, what I think is going to be, the negatives and the positives of the season, and just get this thing kicked off in the right way. I think that's the ultimate goal. So first and foremost, starting here in the SEC, I love the fact that we are in a position that we're in. The SEC just got stronger. I think the SEC with Texas and Oklahoma joining, I think the SEC is in a position to thrive. I think the college football world knows that the championship goes through the Southeastern Conference, whether it's Georgia holding on to the number 1 spot, or if Texas comes in and challenges for the top of the SEC. I think you're going to see some great football here, and the competition has only gotten even better, right? In the SEC, the competition has gotten even better. So there's no, easy games going to be played in the SEC this year for the most part. With, Georgia having one of the hardest schedules in the league, in college football. You have Alabama with DeBoer taking over for Nick Saban. How are they going to be? You have Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Just a building a powerhouse down there, definitely on the offensive side for sure. Texas is going to be a problem. Oklahoma, Oklahoma has the old Clemson defensive coordinator, and they're building, something that I've never seen before in Oklahoma. They actually have a defense. So it's going to be a fun ride this year in the Southeastern Conference. It's going to be interesting to see, will a two or three loss team make it to the playoff out of the SEC, right? If my beloved Georgia takes a couple of L's, is that enough to still keep them in the big game? If Alabama takes a few L's, Texas, Oklahoma, how does that play in the 12-team playoff and in regards to who's in and who's out? Moving over to the ACC. Look, moving over to the ACC, right? We're Florida State was like the shining, at the top of the hill as the top of the conference, and then they get thumped by Georgia Tech. I say thumped, but they shouldn't have lost, right? They lost to Georgia Tech, and now it's a situation where the ACC is wide open. Is it Miami? Is it Georgia Tech? Is it North Carolina? Who's going to be the top of the conference, right? And then they've added on some teams off the west, Midwest and West Coast or whatever, or Southwest, SMU. Who else is there? You got Cal. Cal is in the SEC or ACC now. Stanford, Syracuse. So it's going to be an interesting go of it to see with some of these new teams, with some of the travel and all that stuff, how that looks and how that plays over the course of the year. I'm interested to see what a Stanford. Let me see what their schedule looks like. Stanford going up against let's see here, Stanford Clemson, week 3. That's going to be big, right? Stanford Clemson, Stanford Virginia Tech, Stanford Notre Dame. I think that's always been a game, but so you kind of get the picture. There's going to be some good games, right? Stanford going up against some of the teams here on the East. That Clemson game is going to tell you all you need to know, really, come week 3. And that Notre Dame game is always going to be a good one as well. So SMU in the same boat. I mean, SMU coming out of the Southwest, coming into the fold in the ACC. That's going to be a big one as well, right? To see what their schedule is going to play out to be and how competitive they are once the dust settles, in terms of just overall with the SMU. They're already 1-0. I think they played last week. I don't know who they played, but they run up on Florida State in week 6. Week 5 they run up on Florida State. They have Louisville. Those are some of the biggest games on their schedule. They play Pitt later on in the season. So we'll know what they'll be able to turn it into. So that's going to be big. The ACC is going to be interesting. It's wide open. Like I said, right now Georgia Tech is at the top of the conference at 1-0. So that should be interesting. The last real conference, and I would say the 1A of mega conferences is going to be the Big Ten. The Big Ten is probably the only conference that is really challenging the SEC for dominance in college football. And when you talk Big Ten, you talk Ohio State. Period. Point blank. Period. That's it, right? The Big Ten is Ohio State country right now, and I don't think that's going to change in the short term. So in the Big Ten, they've added some teams there as well. Oregon, I believe, is new to the Big Ten. I think Washington, USC. Oh my God, Wisconsin has always been there, duh. But Ohio State and Oregon in the Big Ten. That is mega. That is, equivalent to Georgia, Alabama, or whatever. So that's going to be interesting. I think Michigan is going to take a step back with Harbaugh going to the league. I think Penn State is going to take a step up with Michigan losing Harbaugh going to the league. But then you have the unknowns, like how is USC going to be without Caleb? How is Oregon going to be? With Dan Lanning as the coach and building out a powerhouse out there with the backing of Nike. Then the unknowns with the Michigan State and a that's about it. Michigan State. Michigan State, but Washington also, they played in the national championship game last year. So, how they're going to be impacted. So it's going to be pretty fun, pretty interesting to watch for college football this year. I'm excited to see a lot of the parody, a lot of the analysts and how they break down the games and how teams are positioning themselves for future success down the line. Best part about it is, hopefully this limits a lot of the opt-outs, being that everyone, for the most part, has a chance to win in the long run. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. Let me know. Like, subscribe, share. And then, at the end of the day, right, my Georgia Bulldogs, we play Clemson the first game of the season. I'll do a breakdown of that and what I think. But listen, if we lose, which we won't, but if we lose, I'll probably go and cancel my account through Christmas. So, but let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and happy football season is back. I can smell it in the air.